Hi, everybody. Hope you're well. Um, I was thinking about um, my pathway into art, which was sort of on the late side, I would say early 20s. I grew up with really no real sense of art, no real education in it. I suppose we had art classes back in my Catholic high school, Catholic grammar school and high school, but I didn't really, nothing really grabbed me about it at the time. I was just busy growing up and, dealing with normal growth and development issues. Um, and it really, I remember my mother talked about it a lot, but she would look at art books, and we had some books from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And of course I would search out the naked women, mainly the, let's see, Bathsheba After the Bath. That was a really, by Rembrandt. That was quite influential on my development, hormonal development. Um, but no, really, I went to college and I started listening to, I had a real interest in fine audio. I really wanted to have a nice stereo system. And back then, you bought a receiver and you bought a turntable and you read, oh, I forget the name of it actually, Stereo Today, I think it was called. And it had articles and reviews. And so I would buy mostly rock and roll stuff. I wasn't really into classical. I didn't know much about classical. I didn't even think about it. And then I was lucky right about when I was 20 or so, a family friend who was a friend of my older brother's, who I was living with, was at that time he was a professor at Harvard, even at that young age himself, and he turned me on to Rhapsody in Blue, Gershwin. And I just remember like really such an obvious thing, but I said to myself, I was just hooked on this, and I would play it over and over, and it would be in my head all the time, and I would be thinking about it. And if I were bicycling and I were going fast, I would be, you know, kind of going along with the music and having it kind of inspire me and all, and get me going, get the blood going. And it took a while before I ever even turned the album over. Wait a minute. No, albums had a side one and a side two. I'm thinking of like CDs, of course, would only have one side. Um, and it took me a long time before I ever listened to what was on the other side, which was also wonderful, American in Paris. And it took me a while to like it, but then when I really started to hear it over and I just got so attached to it. And then when I got tired of that, I'd go back to Rhapsody in Blue. And so I have my one album with probably at least 100 plays. Um, and then all the time I was thinking, well, if this is just one album, and classical music, and this was modern music, of course, 20th century music, but there's classical music too, and it's been around for hundreds of years. God, there must be something. I mean, there must be the number of the ratio of really wonderful stuff to stuff I really wouldn't want to hear is probably great. I mean, you have to wade through a lot, but then you find these wonderful pieces of uh, human created beauty. And yeah, I got into listening to Bach, and mainly his organ music. I loved his organ music, and I had wonderful recordings, um, which were recommended. Again, I would research the ones that were recommended, and they were like generally really good recommendations. I wound up really enjoying the performances. There was a organist by the name of Fernando Laguerre, I think his name was, and he played all of Bach's major organ works. I think all of his organ works, and one in particular I just loved. I would play it endlessly, the Passacaglia and Fugue in C minor, and that always and I was drawn to music that would really excite me, really. It's just like a lot of people. That's why they listen to rock and roll and really, um, rhythmic and pulsing and the whole bit. And uh, I used it for inspiration, and I think as a kind of almost like a drug for feeling good and feeling high. If I was feeling low, I play something, I start feeling better, come up, and want to do stuff. That would be another part of it. I just want to be doing things. So I had I was bicycling a lot during the time. I was very learning about the Tour de France and, you know, learning about bikes, and I built my own bike and I built the wheels for the bike and everything. And would take these long rides after working with my older brother who had a landscaping company um, during my first couple of years of college. And I had so much energy. I mean, I would work with him a hard day, and then I'd bike 40 miles to get home. I'd take a long loop to get home. And I'd be listening to like a Walkman, like a little, um, you know, the little cassette recorder that you could carry around with you. And I'd have the music in my head, and it would give me a lot of, I loved it. I just loved hearing things that I could kind of put together, playlist, what would be called a playlist now, which were just basically cassettes that I had put together for myself and for others. And yeah, you know, it was such a wonderful thing to have been exposed by a person who I really respected, Alfonso, Professor Procaccini, that was his name at Harvard, or it might have been Brown. He might have gone to Brown. I'm sorry, he might have been working at Brown University, but he was such a he was a real good friend of my brother's, and he became a real good friend to me. He was on the football team at the same high school that I went to years before me. He was real athletic, real, just a great guy. And his wife, terrific, beautiful. And fallen out of touch over the years, but I owe it to him. I think I owe it to my mother for having a few books around. And I would look at them, but I would never make the connection. I could be doing something myself. And then it was Alfonso who got me into music. That was another door that opened. And then I began to become very interested in photography, and I'll talk more about that maybe in the next my next little time on camera, talking to you. And these are, gosh, these are not. This is a little bit of like the story of my life. Not you don't. I don't expect people to listen to it necessarily, but it helps me. I like to think about it. So, and um, I like to put it into words, and then look at it and just look at how I am presenting myself. Even at 67 years old, I want to have a certain way of certain ability to be able to speak and think on my feet, and to um, let the conversation go where it will. Conversation with myself in this case. So thanks for listening, and talk to you again, I hope. Have a great day. Bye.